Good day. We are Group 4 and we are here to present about basin retention and detention. Basin. A basin is a depression or a dip in earth's surface. Basins are shaped like bowls with sides higher than the bottom. They can be oval or circular in shape, like a sink or tub you might have in your own bathroom. Some are filled with water. Basins are formed by force above the ground, like erosion, or below the ground, like earthquakes. Two such terms are detention and retention. Flood damage control can be achieved using both detention basins and containment basins. Although the terms are sometimes used interchangeably, there are differences between them. Retention. A retention basin is also known as a retention pond. It's also designed to contain stormwater and runoff. However, retention ponds never completely drain or dry. Instead, they maintain a certain amount of water achieved by underground pipes to prevent overflowing. They also have a small outlet for water to go out safely. Wet retention pond. A retention basin is used to manage stormwater runoff to prevent flooding and downstream erosion and improve water quality. It is an artificial lake with vegetation around the perimeter and includes a permanent pool of water when it's designed. The function of this retention basin is to contain this surge and release it slowly. Retention basin also collects suspended sediments which are often found in high concentration in stormwater due to upstream construction and sand application roadways. Retention ponds are often landscaped with variety of grass, shrubs, and or wet plants to provide bank stability and aesthetic benefits. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. Retention ponds are simple if space is provided. Collects and improve water quality, naturally processes water without additional equipment, provides stormwater collection and flood control, new habitats are created, can be used for recreational purposes. Disadvantages can be a drowning hazard, large areas of land are needed, negative water quality impacts if not professionally designed.
Detention. A detention basin, also known as a detention pond, holds excess water generated by storms to prevent flooding. Dito napupunta yung stormwater during and after the storm. And then after the storm, the detention basin will slowly dries out by an orifice at the bottom of the detention pond via underground pipe, while some amount of the water simply evaporates once the weather clears. Kapag wala ng storms, detention basins are completely dry. Dry detention ponds. Dry detention ponds are usually for short-term detention of water or storm water. It also drains out through the outlet at the bottom. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. Surrounding areas have vegetative buffer that can withstand dry or wet conditions. It may cost less implement than a wet retention pond because the size is generally smaller. Disadvantages. It requires a large amount of space, does not improve water quality, and can become a mosquito breeding ground, and can detract from property value, whereas retention ponds may add value. Types of basin. River drainage basin. It is an area drained by a river and all other tributaries. River basins made up of many different watersheds. Watershed is a smaller version of a river basin. In a river basin, all the water drains to a larger river.
Structural basins. Structural basins are formed by tectonic activity. Tectonic activity is the movement of large pieces of Earth's crust called tectonic plates. Tectonic activity is responsible for such phenomena as earthquakes and volcanoes. The natural processes of weathering and erosion also contribute to forming such basins. Structural basins form as tectonic plates shift. Rocks and other materials on the floor of the basins are formed downward while material on the sides of the basin is pushed up. This process happens over thousands of years. If a basin is shaped like a bowl, A structural basin is shaped like a series of smaller bowls, stacked inside each other. Structural basins are usually found in dry regions. Some structural basins are known as endorheic basins. Endorheic basins have internal drainage systems, which means unlike stream and lake or oceans, they do not have enough water to drain. The water that trickles into these types of basins evaporates or seeps into the ground. The other type of the basin is ocean basin. Ocean basin. Ocean basins are the largest depression on Earth. Edges of the continents cold shelves form the sides of ocean basins. There are five major ocean basins coordinating with the major oceans of the world: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic, and the Southern basins. It is exceedingly difficult to get information about landforms of the ocean basins such as trenches and mid-ocean ridges. Those landforms are thousands of feet below the surface of the water. Usually the average depth of these basins are 4 kilometers below. Few instruments can endure the intense pressure, cold, and dark at the bottom of ocean basins. Occasionally, researchers themselves explore ocean basins in special submarines called submersibles.
Application of basin. GIS applications are needed to understand hydrologic processes connected with water quality assessments on a watershed scale. Designers delineated subwatershed, defined stream segments, and subwatershed characteristics, such as areas, vegetation, soil type, and other hydrologic parameters, and simulated stream discharge. For a small subwatershed, using the data sources and JS extension installed in Basins 3.0, DM data, and historical USGS peak flow data.
Design principles. Retention. The drainage system should be designed such that the SUDS retention ponds and wetlands occupy naturally low-lying areas, and where possible, perimeters access tracks should be at existing grade or in cutting to avoid banded appearance. Where access tracks and paths required to be on embankment, the outer slope should be graded out to buried slopes angles to tie in with the surrounding landform, and where necessary planted to integrate the slopes into the landscape. The design of the retention basins needs to be well fitted to its surrounding when choosing a suitable site. The main factor to consider are the cost effectiveness of the area as well as its ability to support the pond environment. Second, planting native aquatic vegetation further helps to improve the function of retention basins. Nutrients are removed more effectively because of the photosynthetic activities and bacteria attached to the plants. As retention ponds need to hold back a constant level of water, highly permeable soils can be a drawback. If this is the case, clay blankets may be used to overlay or compact the existing soil and therefore make it less absorptive. Detention. The drainage system should be designed such that detention basins occupy naturally low-lying areas, and where possible, perimeter access tracks should be at existing grade or in cutting to avoid a bounded appearance. Where access tracks and paths are required to be on a blanket, the outer slope should be graded out to buried slopes angles to tie in with the surroundings landform, and where necessary planted to integrate the slopes in the landscape. The following principles should also be allowed. First, temporarily wet areas of the sloping banks to be zones with species rich or wet grassland. Second, no tree or shrub planting below maximum water level. And lastly, flattered area in the base of the basin to be planted with not native marginal aquatic species.
Design consideration. One of the most important considerations needed for either of these basins is to ensure that the orifice does not become blocked or clogged. Keeping the pipes clear and debris will ensure the pods and basins are functionally properly. Keeping up with the consideration can reduce costly repairs in the future. Other consideration includes: first, identifying and repairing areas of erosion. A few times a year and after major storms, check for gullies and other disturbances on the bank. Second, removing sediment and debris. Keeping pipes clear and debris and removing sediments ensures proper function. Remove debris around in the ponds before it reaches the outlets to prevent problems. And last, maintaining vegetation. The amount of maintenance depends on the type of vegetation surrounding the basin. Some grasses need weekly mowing and others can be maintained a couple of times a year.
And that's all po, sir. Thank you po, sir.